We're back. Hope you're enjoying all this other kind of stuff. We're going to take a little time out and, we're going to talk a little sports. Shout out to my brother, one of my brothers, Sterling, and he brought up one of the topics and said, hey, look, why don't you talk about a little bit of this? Because I know a lot of times we've been getting kind of bogged down in politics and P. Diddy and raising kids and all that other kind of stuff. But let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. As we can see, the Philly skyline is behind us. Hey, Billy Penn. And Eagles. So the Eagles happen to be 4-0 right now, right? So, I know a lot of people like, hey, especially casual fans just watch every now and then. And of course, the city is hot right now with the Phillies. Phillies going to be in the playoffs, but the Eagles, because the Eagles are the Super Bowl champion. And I think a lot of chicks like Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. That's another story, though. But here's the deal. So Sterling said, basically, do you think there's any correlation between T.O., Terrell Owens, and A.J. Brown? Now, what I kind of thought was, and I've always kind of made this kind of comparison back when we first got A.J. Brown, because he's a big, strong, physical receiver that can catch a ball for 5 yards and take it to the house, or he can catch a long bomb. And, he was good with stiff arming, knocking people off. And he had more of like a dog mentality, kind of like T.O. was. T.O., and I remember back then in the early 2000s when he was with Donovan McNabb, and I'm talking specifically when he was on the Eagles, that he was one of those guys that I felt like he was as tough-minded on offense, almost as if he were playing defense. So you might say, what do I mean? Because typically on defense, that's when you have your guys who are like tougher. They come across as more with more bravado because they do a lot of hitting. They got to do a lot of tackling. So it's a more fierce thing on the defensive side of the ball. But as far as an offensive player, T.O. played offense with the same kind of ferocity, with the same kind of like, I remember one time he caught a ball, and I can't remember whether it was regular season or preseason, and we were playing the Ravens, and he went, dipped, and I know Ray Lewis was trying to put a hit on him, got out of the way, went and scored the touchdown, and then he went and did Ray Lewis's signature touchdown dance or celebration. So I said, T.O. is a different kind of guy. A.J. Brown, while not as flashy, is a Super Bowl champion. And we talked about him a little back then. We just talked about him. And as far as just attitude. Now, of course, I don't know A.J. Brown. Most people don't know A.J. Brown, except for the people, his loved ones and the people that play with him. But just from watching from a fan perspective, it does seem as though he's one of those kind of guys that just may be a little perturbed when it comes down to his passing yardage and completion rate and touchdown rate. Now, let me tell you why, for me, I try to understand both sides of the coin, because you don't want to be that guy. Do you want to be that guy? And I'm talking about even me as a fan. Do you want to be that guy that's complaining about a team, your team, that's 4-0, that just came off of winning the Super Bowl and has been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years with basically the same offensive weapons? You have on one side, Devontae Smith is getting almost $30 million. You have on the other side, A.J. Brown is getting about $35 million. And you have a quarterback who's getting around $55 million, a running back who's getting almost $20 million. So you have guys that are getting paid. And then you see a game like Sunday, which I thought at least for the first half, was a well-called offensive game plan. Then you see your tight end, Dallas Goedert, get 2 touchdowns on shovel passes. And so you got to sit around and wonder, like, hey, wow, is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, where the hell are we out here for? Now, Jalen did, especially in the second half, try to target A.J. Brown. I think he had about 9 targets. I think he only had 2 catches. Now, we know he went crazy the game before that against the Rams. But in this instance, he was basically shut out. It looks like they're rolling coverage towards him. They're keeping an extra guy on him because they know how good he is. But my thing is that, and I don't watch the all 22. That's where you can see it from the aerial to tell exactly who's open. So I don't watch that. So I don't want to make any assumptions. But it was saying to me, like, if AJ is getting double covered and they're bringing somebody down in the box, and for the people who don't know, that just means they're bringing extra help down to try to stop the run, extra people down, less people in coverage. So if they're doing that to stop the run and Saquon hasn't had a great year, then that means the wideouts should be having a better year, right? Wrong. So what's going on, and this is where I think it is. I think that you can have a championship caliber team. You can have a championship caliber quarterback, what you have to give to Jalen Hurts. And one thing I'll say about him is that he's tough as nails. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks I've seen. To be honest with you, some of those hits I think he takes feel like he gets concussed, but he just doesn't come out of the game. That's another story, though. So here we go. The Philadelphia Eagles passing offense ranks low, very low. As a matter of fact, so low, we are the 31st ranked passing offense in all of football. There are only 32 teams. The Eagles are 4-0, but we are 31st in passing per game. The team is only averaging 138 yards per game passing. And I don't even need to read the rest of the stats. That is the only stat that needs to be pointed out. And so now let me give you my argument on the side of the wide receivers. Some people would say, hey, look, these guys are getting paid $35 million and $30 million respectively with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But for these guys to be as good as they are and play the way they are, they've put in a lot of work. They've put in a lot of dedication. Same as T.O. There's been some chirping about A.J. Brown, but this has been going on for a couple years now. Not, wanting to be traded after he won the Super Bowl because he didn't have as great of an impact in the Super Bowl. He was asked, did he feel, because he said that he won the Super Bowl, but it didn't feel the way he wanted it to feel. And then one of the podcasters had joked around with him and said, oh, it didn't feel the way you wanted it to feel because you didn't catch 10 catches for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. Something, kind of ridiculous stat line that most people wouldn't even have in the Super Bowl anyway. But he won. And unlike T.O., who got paid a lot of money for the time he wanted more money for the Eagles. And one of the biggest mistakes in Eagles history is not giving him redoing his contract after the monster year that he had. He played his butt off in the Super Bowl, broken ankle and everything, and still didn't win. He's in the Hall of Fame now, but he didn't win a Super Bowl. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith have already won Super Bowls. So, does that make them sore winners or guys that, just don't feel satisfied? They've been winners most of their lives. I know Devontae Smith has won a championship or two with Alabama. He's also won the Heisman Trophy. So, winning is something that Devontae is kind of used to doing. And now I think AJ is also. But the thing is that it will come a time where everybody will have to look themselves in the face, including Howie Roseman, and say, hey, listen, is it time to move on from A.J. Brown? Now, me personally, just having talks with friends and, once again, casual fan conversation is that one way or another, whether the Eagles reach it back to the Super Bowl or not, this could be the end of it. Because I've seen, and I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but I've seen before where this kind of stuff happens. We can go back to T.O., where you start pissing the quarterback off, you start pissing the coaches off, which in turn is pissing the organization off. They'll move off of you, especially at a price tag of $35 million. Now, what do I think? Like I said, this could possibly be A.J. Brown's last year here in Philly. But we could go out with a bang and win another Super Bowl, right? I'm hoping that's what happens. But who knows? And I get it. Jalen just wants to do the best he can do as far as just making sure he wins games. I think he's scored like 40 something between passing and running, about 45 touchdowns and 8 turnovers or something like that. Not a lot of turnovers, like some unprecedented stat line. But as we all know, it's a team game. And we all know if AJ and Devontae's, if their numbers aren't what they need to be, because, you know, these guys get incentives for extra touchdowns, extra yards, extra catches. All of these things outside of their base salary, they are incentive laden. So how would you feel if you got a quarterback? Yeah, you winning games, and that's the name of the game, but it's also business. So it's not like little league. It's not like high school. Even college is business. Because if my stat line as a receiver in college doesn't show that I'm worthy enough to go to the next level, which is the pros, so I can really get paid, then I won't make it there. So I can definitely understand A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, we're two of the best to do it. And as Keyshawn used to say, give me the damn ball. And this is one time, although we're winning, I'm in agreement with him. Give me the damn ball. Let those guys go out there and work and do stuff. Because, see, if you really understand football, you know how it's an ebb and a flow. You don't want to keep putting your defense back out there like we did on Sunday with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 and outs, 4 and outs. I mean, 4 plays, maybe an out. We don't want to keep doing that. So why make life more difficult? So, Jalen, you're right. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. And winning is the main thing. But the problem is that you don't want to be in a situation where you're forced to win without those guys. Because one day, if you're forced to win without those guys, you know, A.J. Browns of the world don't just come along every day. Devontae Smiths, they don't just come along every day. Saquon Barkley may have a few years left. Quarterbacks we know now are playing longer and longer. So this is what I would say. Kevin Petula would do as the offensive coordinator. Jalen Hurts. Get those guys the damn ball and get it to them early, as Freeway would say. And as I would say, live life. Don't let life live you.